So hello and welcome to St. Michael's, to Religion and Life. It is great to have you here with us, or have you back with us as we come together this day, the 27th of September, and share a little bit about a program here at St. Michael's called BeFriender. For those of you who may not have attended St. Michael's before, I am Brad Froslee, one of the pastors here.
And I'm Ferin, one of the pastors here as well. And today we're excited to learn a bit more about our BeFrienders ministry. If you are a member of St. Michael's, that might sound familiar to you, and that's because the BeFrienders ministry has an incredible history here at St. Michael's, and we've had many people who have led this group and a part of this group over the years. And today we're going to learn more about this ministry through Chuck, Hanson, and Ruth Petersen. The last few years, we've been working really hard at our strategic plan and trying to live out our congregational values. And we feel that the BeFriender ministry is an opportunity for us to lean even deeper into our value of authentic relationships.
It was in my first call that we had a BeFrienders program, and it was a great opportunity to see the ways that individuals who were members of the congregation were able to use their gifts and their skills as a listening presence. It did a few things. Number one, it helped in terms of the caring ministry of the congregation and it being less reliant on just the pastors and more embodied within the whole congregation. And it also equipped others in using their gifts. So as we've talked about with regard to listening and walking alongside, has just been an incredible attribute that is lifted up as others learn more about how they can be members of the congregation and serve others.
Brad and I realize that there's only two of us, and we really believe firmly in being there for you as needs arise in your life, whether joyful moments, difficult moments. But we also know there's only two of us and many of you. So we feel that the BeFrienders ministry is an opportunity, as Brad mentioned, to extend that pastoral care to the congregation and also equip those in our congregation who do have a true gift and calling into walking alongside people in their faith.
So as you think about this time together today, and you hear a little bit more from Chuck and Ruth, we invite you to think wholeheartedly as to whether down the road this is something where you might consider being a BeFriender. Currently, we believe that there are around 16 or 17 people who have been trained or are being trained to serve as BeFrienders. The other flip side of that is, are you at a point in your life where having someone who is a listening and caring presence would be helpful for you? We know that that can mean being an empty nester for the first time, or a job transition, perhaps the loss of a spouse or a loved one, or people going through health or medical issues. The circumstances can vary, but what we know is that having a member of the congregation who is present, who offers just a presence of support, can be really significant alongside what the pastors can provide, and also the prayers of the people at church.
You might have some questions floating around in your mind already about what does it mean to have a BeFriender relationship? What does it mean to become a BeFriender? What does it mean to have a BeFriender in your life? And we think we're going to be able to answer some of those questions with this presentation today. But if you still have some lingering thoughts after our presentation, you can feel free to reach out to either Brad or myself, or even Chuck and Ruth, who are now the leaders of the BeFrienders ministry at St. Michael's.
Just know that we are glad that you are able to join us today for this Religion and Life time, and we look forward to being with you again soon.
Hi everyone, I am Ruth Petersen, and I'm happy to be here. I know you heard the introduction from Pastor Brad and Pastor Allie about BeFrienders. What you see on the screen right now is the BeFriender logo. You may be seeing this in the days ahead as we revitalize the BeFriender ministry here at St. Michael's. I'm really excited to be part of this with Chuck today. I wanted to just start by sharing how I came to be a BeFriender. I have been involved with the BeFriender ministry for about 25 years. I was drawn to it. It's a very loving and gentle and quiet ministry. But I was drawn to it through my life experiences, I think. I was raised as a pastor's kid. I lived all over the country, was involved in a wide variety of congregations. Dave and I have been members here at St. Michael's for almost 40 years. We raised our children here. We have been involved in ministries and activities. And though I'm retired now, for the past 15 years, I have been a church administrator in yet another congregation. So I've seen a lot of congregations. And I understand that there's a wide variety of life circumstances that happen to people in our congregations. There's ups and downs and joys and challenges, and yet we're still all bound by our love of Christ and God's Word. So I have benefited from BeFrienders at St. Michael's. Dave and I have received visits during times of intense grief. We've received visits in times of great joy and in devastating challenges too. It's a gift. The BeFrienders are there not to give us ideas to fix anything. They're there to just walk with us in the love of God. St. Michael's, as you know, is known for its radical love and care of its congregation, and I'm happy to be part of it. So for me, life experiences drew me to be a BeFriender. And Chuck, what brought you into it?
Well, I'm Chuck Hanson. Brother, my wife and I have been members at St. Michael's for around 10 years. And I was unaware of the BeFrienders ministry. But about a year and a half ago, a good friend of mine that's a pastor that I went to high school with was called to minister to a classmate of our, old high school classmate of ours from over 40 years ago. And he was giving her communion, and he asked me to come along. Now, I haven't seen this woman in 40 years. And my friend and I went, he gave her communion, and we just started chatting, and something just clicked inside me. And it just was really fulfilling to sit with this woman who I haven't seen in 40 years and relive some memories, but just give comfort. And so over the next 6 months, I was able to spend a fair amount of her time, spend a fair amount of time with her. And, you know, she unfortunately passed, but it really gave me a sense of purpose to be with people in a time of need. And so that's why I'm really drawn to it. And then Brad and Allie asked you and I to head up this program about 6 months ago. And you and I spent a week in training, and it was really fun. Now, you talked about a history of BeFrienders at St. Michael's. Can you tell us a little bit about the history?
I can. I can tell you a little bit based on what I know. I know that BeFrienders started as a educational program at St. Thomas Divinity School. I think it was 1983. Immediately it became a sensation and was spread nationwide. And then churches were able to become part of this foundation. And St. Michael's got on board, I'm sure it was 1985 or 1986, very early on. We trained our coordinator, who was Mary Dunstan, and she did that job, as you know, for this entire time. She does a great job. She just lives the principles of the BeFriender program. Then she brought on other people to be BeFrienders, and I came on in 1993. The same BeFriender program that had started at St. Thomas was still being trained by various agencies. So I trained for a couple of days, and then I joined the monthly-ish groups that we were having. We would gather as BeFrienders, 8 to 10 to 12 of us, and talk. We would have educational time to talk about how to listen to someone in grief, in crisis, who is lonely, how we can best show God's love and care without being the pastor type of thing. We supported each other. I learned so much personal growth through these meetings, and my friends there who would nurture me and push me and just made me a better BeFriender. Also, the groups would gather to match BeFrienders and befriendees, to find people who maybe had something in common with you, who could walk with you on your journey, just as a friend. Later on, the money dried up, and it was difficult for the BeFriender program to keep going. It became now the BeFriender Foundation, and it's based in Bloomington, and they do not train individual BeFrienders anymore. They only train the trainers, which is what Chuck and I did way last spring. We did a week-long training. we didn't feel we needed to train more befrienders in the days before that because the group we had was very experienced. We were able to just quietly go about befriending people who needed it. We worked with Pastor Roland and Mary to find people, and many times we would just befriend by knowing about people through the congregation. Just simple ways to walk with people. Now, though, St. Michael's is in a different place. We're evolving. We have new pastors. Many of us, all of us are aging, and life circumstances are changing. We are focusing in, as Brad and Ellie said, on our mission and our values, our congregational values. And so Chuck and I think we're here to help invigorate the program and just to keep it moving. But I really, before we move on and talk a little bit more about what BeFrienders actually is and how it works, I want to give a huge amount of thanks to my mentors who are still BeFrienders, but maybe not actively involved, and yet cannot help but be BeFrienders. And these people have personally mentored me along the way. And I want to thank Mary Duddleston, Wally Northrup, Jack Spurback, Maya Jones, and Virginia Ryan. So these people have mentored me, Chuck, and maybe now is a good time to talk about the 4 BeFriender principles that they embody.
By the way, that's a pretty good set of mentors.
I know.
Thank you. So there are 4 fundamental principles that the BeFrienders program is based on. The first is God is present. God is in the room. God is with us when we are talking and sharing with one another. A second principle is caring, not curing. And this is really important because you're not there to solve anybody's problems. You're not there to cure them. You're there because you care. And it is a caring ministry. It's a non-judgmental presence. We're not here to say something's right or something's wrong. We are very non-judgmental, and we are there to listen and care. And finally, active listening. So we want to listen to you. We want to hear your concerns, your ideas, and whatever it is you want to talk about. So again, 4 principles: God is present, caring, not curing, non-judgmental presence, and an active listening. Some of the things we're not here to do is we're not here to bring food, and we're not here to do errands. It's very much a listening ministry. So you've actually been a BeFriender. Can you talk about 1 or 2 of the visits and give everyone just a view of what it looks like?
Sure. The BeFriender visits that have impacted me the most are the ones where I will visit people who are lonely for a variety of reasons. Generally, elderly people who are not able to come to church and just miss a visit with someone that they're used to seeing. I really enjoy those kind of visits. I try to keep them to an hour or less for both our sakes. We get tired. I would usually bring especially at the beginning, I would bring a topic or a devotion or just a question about their life. And I can remember getting some absolutely hysterical answers, particularly from a woman named Irma, who had never learned to ride a bike. And she just had hilarious stories. We spent our hour talking about stories about bike riding. And I would leave with joy in my heart. And I think I left some joy with her. And that's what a BeFriender visit can be. Just a time to share stories and be friends with each other.
So in this time of the pandemic, these visits might start out to look just a little bit different.
Right.
Once we were contacted by Brad Alley, and we reach out to a BeFriender. That BeFriender will call you to schedule a time. And that time, if it's face-to-face, as long as the weather is warm, we are recommending that it be done in an outdoor setting. It could be done via Zoom, but as the weather turns cold, obviously that's outdoor. scenario isn't going to work that well. So we will work into face-to-face inside, but currently the model is phone call, meeting outside face-to-face, or a Zoom call. And again, as the weather changes, so will that model.
I just want to highlight also that the visits are not just for the lonely, although that is a big piece of caring for people who are isolated. Sometimes, as Chuck mentioned, we care for people in crisis. We're not going to do the pastoral care, but we are going to do the friends, bringing God's love to you. Might be sitting in the hospital. It might be just driving by your house and honking and waiting if we can't go in. Sometimes we befriend people who have chronic illnesses, long term, where their feelings change over a period of time and they'd like a friend to talk to. Sometimes we try to match befrienders with people who have gone through similar experiences. When my mother was suffering from dementia, it helped wonderfully to talk with other people who had been in that boat, even though it wasn't identical. It was similar enough that allowed my mind to be open to my feelings and how I could get through this. And the church community is a huge piece of that wide variety of life experiences. I'm going to keep talking. Also, in the years past, we would visit all the people in the church who had new babies. I got visits from Maya and Marge Larson. Mary Draki and I have made many baby visits, and I think that's something that we're going to do again. It's not always in times of crisis. Sometimes befrienders come in times of joy and walk alongside you in that too.
Yeah. And so the timing of the befrienders can be relatively short, or it can be a longer term event. And so there really is no, you're getting a befriender for life. That's not what this is. This is, in a time of need, and depending on what that need is. So we have to set up boundaries too in this program. Can you talk to us about what some of the boundaries look like?
Boundaries during a visit would be primarily listening. The boundaries are not sharing everything you want to say if you're actively listening, because we're trying to help the other person. A big boundary for me is confidentiality. I do not take a befriender visit with me. I might need to talk with my mentors about my own growth, but I'm not going to discuss what the befriendee and I talked about ever. Confidentiality is a huge boundary. I do try to keep time boundaries. It's very easy to get caught up in someone else's life, and a reminder that we're there to help you walk on your path and not do it for you.
So that's a bit of the Befriender program. If you're interested in becoming a befriender, you can talk to the pastors, Brad and Allie, or you can talk to Ruth and I. We have ongoing support. We have that initial training session, and then we will have monthly meetings where every other month we will dive deeper into listening skills or listening skills.
Working with grief and loss.
Yes, thank you. And then the other month, one of the pastors will join us, and we'll really talk about the ministry side of it. So once a month, skills, the other month, really talking about the ministry. And that's an ongoing bit of this Befriender experience.
I think befrienders who have gone through the training, this becomes a lifelong, in your heart ministry. You do it with your work friends, with your neighbors, with your church friends. It's such a gift to be able to give to someone else who's a child of God.
Yeah. Just a reminder, if you're interested in looking for a befriender to listen and sit with you for a bit, you can reach out to either of the pastors, and the pastors will then reach out to us, and we will then work with our trained group to make sure that we have the right person for that listening session.
Very
You're going to have to edit that last thing. The pastors, Ruth and I will make sure that we get the right person for the right.
To walk alongside you.
Thank you.
That's a BeFriender.
Any last words, Ruth?
I don't think so, Chuck. Thank you for doing this with me. I've enjoyed our time together.
It's really been fun. We've gotten to experience a lot of great times just in the times we've been together learning this.
I
So
am grateful.
thank you, and we look to see each and every one of you.